You are listening to it came from the radio show. I grabbed my mic, right? Let's do the intro. So I'm with Rob Graydon here. He's born on December 11th, 1965 in Kingston, Jamaica, and he's an editor. He's an assistant director. He's a director. He's a former stand-up comedian. He's a producer. He's a dad. He's a husband. He's a host of the Stabby Road podcast, and he's a director, assistant director, overall helper, everything editor, colorist of a film that I'm executive producer and makeup artist of. I've been involved in this film for almost 4 years, I think, before Rob came around, and that's called Necromance. So yeah, Rob Graydon does a lot of different things, and he's here right now. So welcome.
Thanks, Jen. Or doctor, is it doctor or is it Jen?
Well, today it's just Jen. Yeah,
Okay, thanks,
yeah.
Jen.
The doctor's out. She's doing lip injections. She's busy.
Oh my God. All right.
Yeah, it's busy. There's a lot of girls that want lip injections these days, so she's out of here. So we're gonna go right into something you did in the early 2000s,
hmm
and it's called the Fangoria Blood Drive, America's Best Horror Film. So that was, I think it came out, the release date says like 2004
Yeah.
online. You can still catch that on Amazon all over the place. Fangoria is a pretty big deal. So now you helped create this. And simply put, for anyone who doesn't know, it was a film contest that chose 7 winners and then put them in the Fangoria Blood Drive compilation. And then you
Yeah.
also got to work with Rob Zombie and Stan Winston, Clive Barker, a whole bunch of people. So tell us about that. What was that like?
That was okay. So let's start off with at the time the editor of Fangoria, who was Tony Timpone. I was very fortunate to go to high school with Tony. Tony and I went to high school together.
Oh,
And he was just one of those guys who, from the time we were in high school, he actually said, "I want to be the editor of Fangoria magazine," and he freaking did it. He
hmm.
actually ended up doing it.
Wow.
And so there came a time when we were doing stuff that sort of overlapped, and they were these guys at Koch Entertainment who we had a relationship with were looking to do something horror related, and so we
Mhm.
were able to cross over those two things. And Tony got us. They eventually came up with this idea of a blood drive, which was uh, essentially just a competition of kind of like it was like a film festival essentially,
Yes.
only on DVD.
Hmm.
And so a whole bunch of people sent their they advertised it through Fangoria, and a whole bunch of people sent in their films, short films, and the winners got to be on this disc. And we did two of them actually. We ended up doing a second blood drive. So the first blood drive we had, I came up with the idea of if it's going to be a DVD, and back then just the menu pages were just menu pages. They were kind of boring. We were kind of like, well, what if we got someone to host the actual thing, but through the menu pages? And through mutual friends, we had known Rob's manager, a guy by the name of
Hmm.
Andy Gould, and so myself, this guy S.A. Barron, who was also part of the company that we were working for, and Tony all kind of asked Rob, and Rob said sure. And so we flew out to LA. It was actually very fortunate because it was a day that he was shooting it was a show for AMC, and it was a whole bunch of different filmmakers, and coming in and um, out of this hotel suite talking about horror movies. And so we were just down the hall in our own suite.
Hmm.
And so in between stuff, he would just come run in, and he would do art. We would shoot those
Nice. Oh,
green
wow.
screens, and we would put him. He became part of the actual DVD itself. He's part of the menu. So anytime the
Cool.
menu pops up, he would just talk about it. He improvised a lot. We got along great. He's like an incredibly cool guy. I remember asking him a question that he was actually appreciative of, because there was always like this old myth
Mhm.
that if you ever see the Dragula video, there's this clown who's just laughing hysterically, and there's fire, going off and around him. And it was always this myth that was Jerry Lewis from a film that never ever came out called The Day the Clown Cried.
Hmm.
It was banned, and Lewis, he put it in a vault, and only a handful of people had ever seen it. And so I just flat out asked him, I said, "Is that a clip from that?" And he laughed.
Mhm.
He said, "You know what?" He said, "It's not." He said, "It's an old, it's like an old carnival commercial from when he was a kid that creeped him out, and he just found it again, and he just put it in the video." But it does look a lot like if like Jerry Lewis was dressed up in clown makeup. So that became so. He said, "You're the first person who ever asked me that," and I said, "Oh, great."
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that was always
Well,
fun.
you're
But he
very
was great.
insightful.
Yeah,
And that's
thanks.
why I like working with you. You know, we worked on Necromance, quick aside, I had done all this makeup in the woods an hour away, and then
Yeah,
our actor dropped out, and we have to shoot 2 pages, and this is a film I worked on for like 3 years, and the main actor, she knows all her lines. And essentially you, me, and two other people, we had to rewrite the ending and just freestyle and shoot a totally different plan. But you are,
we we
we made it happen.
improvised. Yeah, we improvised a whole new ending. We had to like rewrite it and still have the integrity of the rest of the film. So it just
Mhm.
didn't seem like it came out of nowhere.
Right.
I just saw a cut of that, and it works really well. So we were all very happy how that came out. And your makeup is just awesome, man. Every
Hope
time
so.
we work together on your makeup, you do like this cool makeup. Can I say that you actually did awesome makeup for my film,
Thank you. Yes, sure, of
Attenuator?
course.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
not much. A
I
little.
no, you did some great.
Oh yeah,
Well,
I did a car accident scene. That's easy. Yeah.
yeah, but it was like filled with blood and glass
Yeah.
hanging out, and yeah, no, it worked really, really well.
Well, you made it really look good. And the reason why I brought up that, the crazy scene with Necromance is
Yeah.
we were able to make it work because the actress and you and TJ, we all have very creative minds and we're
Mm-hmm.
able to just think on our feet and you have
Yeah.
really good insights. So that's really why I brought that up because if you weren't there, maybe, me and the other two, but you're really a good quick thinker and you're able to, figure things out when things go wrong. And also with the makeup, thank you. I mean, it was easy makeup, car accident makeup, and Tom Corsair is an incredible actor. He's
Yeah.
outstanding. But you made it look really good, because you shot. He's supposed to look like he's in an ambulance after a car accident, which was
Yeah.
essentially shot on the top of my old mattress, which I threw
Yes.
out,
In your
covered in
bedroom.
blood with
Yeah.
lights. But the way you set it up, it looks
Yeah.
like he's really in an ambulance. Good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, and again, that was also sort of last minute too, because that wasn't in the
Hmm.
script.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Wow.
And you originally were just supposed to be an actor in it,
Oh,
and we were just like, "Oh, could you do like some makeup?" And you're like,
of
"Sure." And
course.
so like we improvised a lot of that,
Oh, oops, whatever.
and yeah, but you came up with that the sort of that bloody scar gouging and all that sort of stuff that looked great.
And he sold
But
it.
you came up with it like that day.
Well, that's easy. Car
Yeah.
accident stuff, heroin stuff, addict stuff, no problem. So now we're gonna totally switch gears. Now you used to tour as a stand-up comedian. I think you mentioned touring with Jim Norton and a bunch of other really big
Oh
names
yeah,
that people know about
yeah,
nowadays. You were deep into comedy, right?
I was a stand-up from 1986 to 2001.
That's a long time. So
Yeah.
you also were or are the director of Sesame Street. You've directed several segments on Sesame Street. So random question, are there any overlaps or similarities or things you learned while touring and stand-up that you've applied to Sesame Street?
Yes. So believe it or not, there actually is. Before I directed Sesame, I directed for a company called No Strings International, and basically what they
Hmm.
do is they create puppet films, like big elaborate puppet
Oh,
films. We shoot on half sound stages and stuff like that, for kids at risk parts of the world. So basically, so the first one I'll give you an example. The first one I ever worked on was teaching kids in Afghanistan about landmines, because thanks to us and the Russians, there are more landmines in Afghanistan than there are people.
wow. Wow. What?
Um, so what you would teach your kid, don't cross between two cars. A kid there would have to learn that if you're walking down the street and or walking, wherever, and you see like a cow that's been blown up,
Wow.
you have to step backwards in the step in the footprints that you came in, because those footprints are safe. Those footprints got you
Yeah.
there without a clue. So
Whoa.
they created these wonderful films based on different based that were culturally appropriate, that were region appropriate, and that taught different kids, AIDS awareness in Hawaii and in Haiti, and parts of
Hmm.
Africa, and nutrition in Madagascar, which again, things that we don't think of are huge issues
Mm-hmm.
in these different parts of the world. Indonesia, which was a whole mess. We shot like five different things of that because
Wow.
it was like volcanoes and earthquakes and things that like you have to teach kids to.
Well,
So the reason why I brought all that up is because the puppet world is not a huge thing. It's very small. It's relatively quite small. So all the puppeteers on that were puppeteers who worked on Sesame Street. And about
okay.
2 or 3 years ago, there was sort of a big. I think there was a bit of a shakeup at Sesame, so they were looking for different
Hmm.
directors. And one of the puppeteers a few years earlier was like, you know what? None of the directors outside of us, because a lot of the puppeteers do direct, but none of the outside directors really have a sense of humor. Would you ever consider coming in and directing? And at the time, YouTube wasn't a big thing for Sesame Street, so
Hmm.
I couldn't really do it because it was not in the DGA. But then, lo and behold, like 3 years later, 3 years ago, I got a call saying, "Would you be interested in coming in to direct some segments at Sesame Digital, which is what the YouTube channel is?" And the YouTube channel is not considered broadcast, so you do not have to
Hmm.
be in the union to direct
Okay.
those.
Got it.
And I got a cold call because a lot of those puppeteers recommended me. So I don't know this for sure, but I'm probably one of the few outside directors that never really put in a resume or anything like that. I just got called.
Oh, oh, interesting.
So yeah, and so I can, and it was because of working with so many of them. They knew me, they were comfortable, and it really was like when I stepped on set, it was like kind of like an old homecoming thing because
That's
so
awesome.
many of us knew each other, and there were plenty of new um, puppeteers too. I worked the first day Megan Peace, I think, worked. Who she's the first black female puppeteer, and she was incredibly nice. So that was a big first that
That's cool.
I got to witness. I think being there, and it was a big grade of Sesame history as well as history.
I mean, if
Uh,
I was creating anything, I would definitely want you there. I'd say, okay, who do I want on set that can help, that can be a Renaissance man and see this and that? I don't want just a writer who can just write. I don't want just an actor who can just act. I want someone who
yeah,
knows stand-up comedy and assistant directing and a directing and editing and you.
yeah.
You're
Oh,
very
thank you,
valuable.
thank
So,
you.
you have a lot of insights and a lot of
Yeah,
good ideas, and you have to make a lot of decisions. And we made a lot of decisions on another film. So
yeah.
we'll move on to that. The Attenuator film, which
Yeah.
you wrote. I believe you wrote this.
I wrote it.
Soup to
We
nuts, right? You did
Yeah,
everything.
I did. Yeah, I wrote it. I directed it. I
Hmm.
edited it. I did the visual
Hmm.
effects. It came about because I I I I wanted to do something about grief and guilt, and I said, wouldn't it be
Okay.
interesting if we had a film that seemed like it was about guilt, about grief, but it ended up being about guilt? And it basically came to me one night and I'm sure you've done this and everyone's done it when you've done something in your life and years later you're up all night just thinking how you could have done it differently
Oh,
over and
yes.
over and over again, and
Yes, yes,
that's sort of
yes.
where the basis of Attenuated comes from.
Ah,
That's
okay.
why it's about a guy who was in a horrible car accident at first we believe it's with his girlfriend or wife,
Right.
and he just keeps he sees now that in present day he's in a wheelchair. He's immobile other than he can really just sort of move his finger and move his
Yeah.
mouth enough to eat. And you played, not only did you do all the makeup and stuff,
Oh,
you were
yeah.
gracious enough to come in and play the nurse who helps him
Is
out and
he?
feeds him and stuff, his aide. And so that's where that came from. It's he could
Mm,
only really move things, and I was like, well, what can if the whole movie's about a guy sitting in a wheelchair who can't move, how can I make that interesting? So we created
yeah.
the sort of flashbacks of things he'd be thinking of, and I had a set of VR goggles that I just sort of customized, and put
Hmm.
on him just to go, well, oh, so what would he be looking at this whole time? What would he be? How can we as an audience see what's going on in his head? And so I
Yeah.
just came up with that VR thing, and and there's a twist in it that goes from grief to guilt.
Yeah, I like it
Yeah.
a lot. It's very well done. I saw a little, I'm not allowed to post anything, but like I have thousands of files that I'm
Yeah.
hoarding and hopefully will show this year, next year. It's very well done. And I'm gonna ask, well, I had broken up with someone in just like a careless way. I was like
Hmm.
24, and when I'm almost 42, so
Right.
24, there's definitely things I would never do now, but I did it in kind of careless way. It was a lot of ego, and then 2018. It was a weird week. I had this weird meditation class I went to where I prayed to
Mm.
aliens and all this stuff happened. The SWAT team showed up to a thing, to
Okay.
a
Can
film
I
set.
stop you for a second?
Yes.
I'm gonna have you on my podcast talking about what
Oh, sure. Oh, I
your
have a crazy
meditation class.
story. Oh,
But
yeah, no,
anyway,
the
but
craziest things happened. I lost weight. I got back to the body because I ended up being disabled right after I dumped this
oh
guy.
my God.
I ended up being disabled for like 2 years and I gained 20 pounds and I was teaching workout classes and I couldn't walk. So imagine that's your job to teach workout classes and you can't even move. So my life like went to hell after that. And I can't help but believe in karma. But my point is,
Mm,
in 2018, I got the body that I lost in 2010, right after
mm,
I dumped. I got it back. Like
right.
like this. I all these weird premonitions and things happen, things related to even the Clintons, like very interesting, crazy stories and things related to the DA and government officials that contacted me. Really wild stuff happened. And I also found a bracelet, which I'm wearing, that he gave me. I'm not
Mm,
gonna say his name. I found it in the back of my car that I lost. So it's like my body from 2010 came back. My bracelet from
wow.
2010 came back. And then I kept thinking in my head, God, you were such a piece of crap. Like you broke up with him in such a bad way. So I contacted him on Facebook. Thank you, Facebook. And I said, I'm so sorry. I was just such a piece of garbage. And he said, Jenny lady, it's okay. I'm actually walking into this restaurant, which I used to basically get all my food from, this Japanese place. And he's like, I'm
Uh,
walking in that restaurant right now, which he
wow.
never goes to as he got the message. He's like, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it. But he's a great guy and I felt that. So my final question, probably, is there anything that you think you messed up on that maybe you were able to make it right or you wish you made it right, kind of like an attenuator, or you had this guilt and you could fix it?
I'm going to answer that twofold.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that if you asked me that 5 years ago, I would say
Mm-hmm.
there's quite a number of things.
Oh, interesting.
But I think over a course of time, and I think as you get more mature, you have a tendency to not necessarily let them go, because there are times
Mm-hmm.
I'm up all night going like, oh man, that thing I did when I was 18 or 12, I wish I just
Oh
did that
my
better.
God.
I wish I said something different to this person.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
more of, I think I've come to a point now where I can accept that it
Okay.
happened, and I can't go back and I can't fix it.
Mm.
So I have to just accept whatever it
Mm.
is I said or did, or even thought I did and probably didn't. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
the reality is you're like the main character in your story, but you may not be the main character in somebody else's story. So the
True.
kind of thing that you think of might have been a big thing, they might have long since forgotten it. And you've just been sitting with this weird guilt this whole time. And
Right.
so I think probably within the past 5 years, maybe even less, to be perfectly honest with you, I think it might have been, I've come to the realization I just have to just accept it and not feel guilty about it, or not feel, or not, I shouldn't say not feel guilty, but just the fact that I simply cannot go back in time and change anything.
Maybe you can.
Yeah,
Maybe,
possibly.
I don't know. There's all this stuff coming out about time travel and astral travel and
Yeah,
overlapping timelines. I don't know. Maybe you can go back, or maybe something
maybe
you could
one
do
day.
now
Yeah.
influences the timeline back then. I don't know. I can't follow this time travel stuff, and my mind doesn't go there. It just doesn't go there.
Right.
But speaking of where your mind goes, please tell our listeners your final thought, anything on your mind today. We got 2 minutes, and also where to find you, your socials, your website, and anything on your mind.
I think my final thought is of gratitude.
I
Thank
like
you.
that.
Honestly, just thank you for
Hmm.
having me on the show. I think, to me, that shows, a trust in some ways, that you trusted that I would come on and
True.
tell you a cool story, and but you can find me two places, Rob Graydon,
Hmm.
Rob Graydon or Graydon Films. Those two
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, though I'm not really on Facebook too much anymore.
That's good.
Um, and my podcast, which is the Stabby Road podcast. We just did
Hmm.
a live show last week for
I
our very
missed it.
first time. Oh,
Yes.
that's right. Yeah, but
It was on my calendar, but I did a stunt at the Town of Oyster Bay Town Hall that I almost got kicked out, and I had 5 to 7. I lost count. Town officials came up to me and they wanted to kick me out. It was very stressful, and I knew I would need every ounce of energy in my being to do
right,
this
right.
stunt because this is the first public stunt like comedy, like Sacha Baron Cohen type stuff. If you want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
compare it to anyone, so I texted TJ and I was like, I think I need to just go to sleep. And if I didn't
Right,
go to sleep,
right.
I would have had to cancel because I got in my car and I was sweating and I was soaked in sweat like I'd gone to war, and that's why I didn't go. But trust me, I really wanted to
Okay,
go. But
so
anyway,
here's the deal. We need to start interviewing you about stuff,
sure,
because
yeah, love
every
to.
time, every encounter I have with you, there's always a suggestion of some insane story that you have,
Yeah,
and,
well, yeah,
and
I
I'm
live for
like,
health and I live for insane stories.
yeah.
Joseph Saladino was walked in with me dressed as a man with a blow up doll, my wife Vanessa. And he gave me at least 4 look backs, or at least 3 minimum to 5. Like, what the hell? And what the hell? And yeah, there's going to be a lot more of that this year. We're back to comedy, baby. 3 years
Yeah,
off. We're getting back. So anyway,
great.
this is
I'm
a
glad.
very long ending, but we have where to find you.
Yep,
Rob
Stabby
Graydon.
Road. Yeah, Rob Graydon, Graydon Films, and
Hmm.
Stabby Road. Mostly TikTok, mostly Instagram,
Hmm.
and YouTube. Our YouTube channel, which is Stabby Road as well.
And again, I worked
Yeah,
with him. I've seen him work, and he's great vibes. He also gets things done, and he understands time management, which a lot of people, their brain just doesn't understand time and
that
how to
is
stay
true.
on time. And if it, my final thought was, if it wasn't for Rob Green, if he didn't exist and he didn't come to Tarrytown to shoot 3 days, The Necromance, we wouldn't have been able to finish the film because he kept us on schedule. He was like a military driver. Come on, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and I was dressed like an athletic event. I knew it was going to be like this, so I was ready. But I loved it. I was like, this guy is scaring me, but I love it. So yeah, he did a great job. And we're gonna throw it back to Mark Torres for more. It came from the radio.